We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words that make...
Hi, welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is Those Were the Days, and we've got Ward George with us. How are you, George?
Fine, Steve, thank you.
Good to see you, George. What season are we going to today?
1992-93. It's transition. It's Newcastle becoming excited again. I think Steve's the best way to describe it.
Great stuff. Well, I've got all the photos loaded, and as always,
good.
If there's any issues, George, we'll take a pause for the adverts. But over to you, my friend.
Right. Thanks, Steve. Just for those of you that I know that a lot of you are interested while Steve's playing those preambles, that's great. Number one music at the time, top 10, End of the Road, Boys to Men, Baby Got Back, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Jump, Criss Cross, Save the Best to Last, Vanessa Williams, Baby, 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 TLC, Tears in Heaven, Eric Clapton, My Lovin', You're Never Gonna Get It, In Vogue, and Under the Bridge, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Quite an eclectic mix of music there. Not so with films. If you're interested in cinema and films, the top film for nearly the 9 months of the year was Aladdin, was an animation. It was good, but I didn't think it was that good. But the one that caught my eye and I enjoyed was a Tom Cruise classic and A Few Good Men, which I thought was a military courtroom drama, which really did stretch your imagination. So that's the outside world. In football, well, we've got Kevin Keegan as manager and setting the place on fire as he does wherever he goes. And just to show he asked the board to back him, well, just to let you give a sample, those players coming in, John Beresford, Paul Bracewell, Barry Venison, Robert Lee, Andy Cole, Mark Robinson, and Scott Sellers. That's quite a list to bring in. And going out, John Gallagher, Lee Makel, Darren Bradshaw, Peter Garland, Mickey Quinn, Billy Askew, Franz Carr, Ray Ransom, Bjorn Christensen, Andy Hunt, Kevin Sheedy, and John Watson. What a turnaround in personnel. But he persuaded the board that he could do something with that team that he'd put together. And as you'll see as we go through, he's fairly true to his word. First game is a home game against... no, it isn't. It's friendlies again, isn't it? Always with Newcastle, even with Keegan. Friendly at Hearts, York City, Doncaster Rovers, Middlesbrough, and Sporting Lisbon. And that takes you right to from end of July to nearly the middle of August. And it's typical that we do that. It never changed until much later when we started to get into pre-season tournaments. Anyway, first league game was Southend. And Southend not a. And that's Keegan Klein on the programme. Southend, not a team that you would expect to cause us a great deal of trouble, but in this match, they surprised us. They come and they give it a go. They weren't frightened because it was Newcastle United. Keegan's team: Tommy Wright, Barry Venison, John Beresford, Paul Bracewell, Brian Kilcline, Steve Howie, Steve Watson, Gavin Peacock, David Kelly, Lee Clark, and Kevin Sheedy. Kevin Sheedy's still on that team, but he wasn't there long before Keegan sold him. Southend team: Colin Murphy. Now, Colin Murphy remembered best because he was part of the Clough team at Derby and places like that. But a man who's well regarded in football when he was manager. Not a lot of players that have any stature. And John Cornwall at fullback was a stalwart for a number of teams, but never a star. And Pat Scully, Adam Locke, playing for the Bristol teams, and Andy Sussex similarly. But you could never class them as stars. But in this match, they proved to be a very, very tough team. We get off to a good start. Paul Bracewell, 5 minutes. An own goal by one of their defenders on 10. And then on 57 minutes, David Martin scores for Southend. And then Lee Clark on 70 gets our third. And 76 minutes, Ian Benjamin scores the second for Southend. So 3-2. And my memory is it was back to the walls for us because Southend really went for it. They gave us a tough time. But we got off to a start. That was the important thing, getting off to a good start. Our next game was League Cup first round with Mansfield Town at home. And it's the League Cup still has its horrors for Newcastle United. We struggle to get past the first round usually, but everybody's confident that with this Mansfield team shouldn't be that much trouble to us. Sure enough, we go and Keegan takes it completely seriously. I love these people that get these papers off. They give people their full names, and Keegan's at the top of the list as Joseph Kevin Keegan. I think I'm not sure you would like it called Joseph anyway. His team's unchanged. Wright, Venison, Beresford. It's the full league team. He's not treating this cup badly. He's really giving it a go. 14,000 at the game, and Mansfield have one or two stars in and players we know. Chris Wraith, of course, the brother of Chris Wraith played for us as well as his brother, and Kevin Gray, Paul Holland from West Ham, Gary Ford, who briefly passed through our ranks. And Steve Wilkinson, Steve Charles, both of whom were Nottingham Forest stalwarts, which makes sense when they're so near the Mansfield. A good, entertaining cup tie. We got off to a flying start. Gavin Peacock makes it 1-0 within 2 minutes. And Mansfield equalise, gets the Gallagher corner very nervous. Paul Stant, 67 minutes, scores a nice goal. But then in 82 minutes, Gavin Peacock special, he glides in from the penalty area and slots the ball home in the bottom corner. And so we get a 2-1 cup win. So that's another good start for Newcastle United. Our next game is away to Derby County. And we always seem to have good games with Derby County. The reputation of being a good football side has personal connotations for me because with family in Derby, our lot used to try and make a squad up to go to the match. If they couldn't get a squad, they'd get a bloody bus full. Anyway, Derby County away. And these are the games, if we're going to do anything this league, these are the games we've got to start winning, because they're going to be rivals. They're going to be up there at the top with us, and they're going to be pushing us. So we go, and it's 17,500 in the ground. And of course, add grist to the mill is Arthur Cox is the manager of Derby, with Steve Sutton, Simon Coleman, Paul Williams, Jason Kavanagh, Mark Pembridge, Paul Simpson, Marco Gabbiadini, centre forward, is the name we know. Tommy Johnson, who's a Geordie, and in the forward line, Paul Kitson, a man that we get to know very well. So it's going to be a good game, an interesting game. Keegan sticks to his team. Wraith, Venison, Beresford, Howie, Kilclynes, Franz Carwiley's there because he gets transferred very quickly. Peacock, Kelly, Clark, and Sheedy. 17,500 in the ground, and we get off to what looks like a 0-0 draw in the first half. It's a good game, but nobody looked like they're ever going to score. But then on 51 minutes after half time, Gavin Peacock slots one in. Then on 55 minutes, Lee Clark follows up with a beauty from a corner, dropped at his feet right on the 6-yard box, and he just volleyed it into nearly bust the net with it, actually, is my memory. And so we're 2-0 up and sailing to an easy victory. Well, that hadn't counted on Mark Pembridge getting a goal on 83 minutes. In the last 7 to 10 minutes with the extra time, injury time, it was back to the wall. Derby really did have a goal. So there was a lot to be thankful for in the way the team dug in and got going. So the next game is the away leg of the League Cup with Mansfield. Bear in mind we've only got a 1-goal cushion, but we go to Field Mill is their ground, and 6,700 in the ground. Keegan sticks to his team. Wright, Venison, Beresford, Howie, Kilclyne. One change, Kevin Scott slots in because somebody's injured, but otherwise it's the same team. The Mansfield team is the same as the one that played at St James's Park, with Chris With acting as captain for them in this return leg, and they've got a new left-sided player, Steve Charles, from Nottingham Forest, who has a good reputation. It's a fairly straightforward game. It's 0-0, and it looks like 0-0 all the time, and that's how it ends up. We get through with the extra goal, so we get through to the next round of the League Cup on a 0-0 draw at Mansfield. Next, we have West Ham at home, and again another team we've got to beat, because they're being touted by the pundits to be up there at the top at the end of the season, and 29,800 at the match. The attendances in this season are tremendous, because of Keegan, and B, because we're starting to play football and look like we're going to win something, or at least get out of the second division. Tommy Wright, Barry Venison, Ray Ranson comes in because John Beresford's got a bit of a knock, and otherwise it's Kilclyne steps down because he's got a knock, and Liam O'Brien comes in, and Kevin Scott goes into the back line as centre half. A good game with West Ham fielding the strong side. Stephen Potts, Breacher, Julian Dix at left back, we used to call him. hard character, tough character. Alvin Martin, Mark Allen, Ian Bishop, Peter Butler, Matt Holmes, Clive Allen, and Kevin Keane. Quite a number of those are English internationals. So West Ham had a tidy side, and come with, as I say, the pundits forecasting that they're going to be up there at the top at the end of the season. Well, it's a good game, entertaining game. It looks like 0-0 at half time, except that right on the death, 44 minutes, Gavin Peacock scores. And then in injury time in the first half, David Kelly gets a second. So we go in at half time at 2-0. It looked like it was always going to be 0-0 all the way. Second half, we just stuck in and kept them out. End-to-end stuff, but nobody looked like scoring. And we stick with a 2-0 win, which was a great boost for the team and for the supporters. We're now sitting second in the league as well. So I know it's early days, but sometimes means a lot to supporters to know exactly where their team is. Next one is Luton Town at home. And Luton, an interesting team. They're middle of the table, but playing some good stuff. And Keegan sticks by his same team, Wraith, Venison, Ranson instead of Beresford, because Beresford's injured. And 27,200 at the game. And Luton come with Peterson in goal, the Danish goalkeeper. Some Trevor Peake, ex-West Ham centre-back. Steve Claridge, Leicester City, well-known. Steve Claridge played in at least 40s. He had a heck of a reputation. Scott Oakes, Phil Gray, and David Priest. All former players for London team, but didn't reach the heights, but still tidy players in this division, in the second division. 27,200, as I say, in the game. And it's a game we should win. The players fairly brisk from Newcastle. They're really having a go for this one, and so they should. And on 35 minutes, Lee Clark with a screamer from the edge of the box makes it 1-0. And then just before half-time, and David Kelly seemed to do this a lot, just before half-time there's a corner, and who sneaks into the near post but David Kelly, and a nice little glancing header into the bottom corner. So we go in 2-0. Second half, straightforward. Newcastle make sure that Luton don't get any chances, and we end up with a nice 2-0 victory that keeps we're nicely set at the top of the league, second place. Now got Bristol Rovers away, and again, it's a game. Although it's away, it's a game we should be winning. Bristol Rovers are well down the league compared to us. Their team is got not many stars, but they've got a star manager called Malcolm Allison, and a character on the field and off the field, Malcolm Allison. But I sometimes think these characters do a lot for the game, even though they sometimes get up your nose. But I can live with that. Bristol Rovers, Jeff Twentyman is in the back line, ex-Liverpool player for many years. David Wilson as well, Lee Madison, Steve Cross from Leicester, John Taylor, Marcus Stewart, a nice centre forward, come attacking midfielder, depending which side he went on. A nice tidy side, but shouldn't be beating us. Keegan sticks with his team, Wright, Venison, Ranson, etc. And the only other changes that further down, Gavin Peacock gets a knock, and Paul Bracewell comes off the bench to replace him. 7,500 at the game. A game which good football game. A bit of end-to-end with Bristol really giving it a go because of the home side. 12 minutes, Kevin Sheedy scores one of his goals after a mazy run down the left side. And Hearts and mouths time for Newcastle fans. John Taylor for Bristol equalises on 72 minutes. And we're hanging on to hope that we get a 1-1 draw. But needn't hang on at all because Liam O'Brien from a corner with his typical header makes it 2-1. And we go home from Bristol with a 2-1 victory. It's got us firmly fixed in second place. We now got Portsmouth at home. Pompey on at the top, but they're a dangerous side, and got lots of old hands with experience, but still should be no problem to us. So we go. Keegan starts with the same team: Wraith, Venison, John Beresford's back after injury. Kevin Scott and Steve Howie, etc., all back in the team. 30,000 at this game, which is about where we are, I think, as much as anything, because we're first. We're at the top of the league after this. The midweek results went in our favour, and we end up top of the league. Portsmouth, well, managed by Jim Smith, who we know, the bald eagle. Some great old players in, and they'll forgive us for calling them old, but they were all on their way down rather than up. Alan Knight in goal, Andy Orford at fullback, Ray Daniel at fullback, Kit Simons from Charlton, a very tidy midfielder, Warren Neal, Martin Krul, Darryl Powell, Guy Whittingham, who played for Leicester for a long time, very, very dangerous forward. A team that people who on that day could make life difficult for us. As I say, 30,000 in the ground, bar a handful, and we got off to a reasonable start with Mick Quinn against his old team scoring 16 minutes and 74 minutes, and we 16 minutes rather, and David Kelly getting another one at 41. Making it 2-0 at half time. Just to add to it, Mick Quinn again on 74 makes it 3-0. And then Guy Whittingham, who's always likely to score a goal on 82 minutes, makes it 2-1 and sets the Hearts fluttering in the Gallagher corner. I don't know why we were winning it easy, but people still get a bit edgy when somebody scores a goal towards the end of the match. But we ended up with a nice 3-1 win and firmly fixed ourselves as in first place in the second division. So we now go to Grimsby Town for what is the Italian Interleague Club competition, Group 2, Round 1. It's all these weird cup things we get involved in. The people that organise these papers, that must drive them dotty because they make them all in different colours. They're sometimes struggling for colours, I think. Anyway, we go to Grimsby for this Italian Cup match and Anglo-Italian Interleague Cup, and it's a game we should win, but it's not going to be that easy. Grimsby Town, managed by Alan Buckley, a former player of theirs, with one or two former stars in it, Andy Tilson, Gary Croft, Peter Handerside, Tony Rees, Paul Gowans, and Neil Woods, all tidy players in their day, and giving Grimsby a platform to play on. However, the crowd tells you what the supporters think of this. 2,100 at Grimsby. Must have been have to shout to your neighbour just to get them to hear you. Anyway, Kevin makes one or two changes. He puts Pavel back in goal, Pavel Cernacek in goal. But the rest, he brings Kilcline back. And the rest, all steady first-team players. Gives Mickey Quinn another run out. And it's... well, it's end-to-end stuff. Mickey Quinn on 5 minutes gives us a lead, and we think, well, that's great. And lo and behold, David Kelly, 15 minutes, makes it 2. And so we've got a 2-0 lead, we think, for half time, but Tony Rees on 30 minutes makes it 2-1, and we go in at half time 2-1. And but people are quite sure that we'll survive and get a win at the end. Well, come the second half, Grimsby have a go, and Paul Groves, a good attacking player in his day, makes it 2-2. And we hang on to the end. It's the only way to describe, that's what I read, to describe what happened in that match. So you get a 2-2 at Grimsby in the Anglo-Italian League Cup match. We now have Bristol City at home, and Bristol City are the better of the two Bristol sides, but still shouldn't be troubling us because they're not going to be there at the top at the end. Again, another 30,000 crowd with Keegan putting Tommy Wright back in goal, Barry Venison, John Beresford goes back to his tried and tested team, and people expect that we'll beat Bristol, but perhaps be harder than Bristol Rovers. Well, we didn't guess that one right because Newcastle just tore Bristol apart. Bristol City with one or two former stars, Matthew Bryant, Martin Scott, Mark Hazelwood, who's played at a number of teams at a fairly high level, Wayne Allison, Leroy Rossinia, ex-West Ham guy, and a tidy team, but tidy or not, Keegan's side could make short work of that. It's very quiet in the first half hour, but then suddenly on 40 minutes, Liam O'Brien slots a header in. 45 minutes, Gavin Peacock slots a penalty in after Franz Carr's been brought down. After half time, same again, Franz Carr running through, gets brought down, and Gavin Peacock takes the penalty. Then 64 minutes, and Franz Carr himself gets a goal. And on 86 minutes, Kevin Brock, who's a substitute, scores with a free kick. 5-0, Newcastle go nap for once. And again, the important thing is it fixes firmly at the top of the league and making people look over their shoulder at us for a change. So the next is the League Cup second round, and we play Middlesbrough. We've got a Tyne Tees derby for the League Cup, and 26,000 at the game. Now that's a crowd that, you know, for League Cup even today would be tidy, but in that particular era, it was all about how they were playing and how and Keegan and his style and all the rest of it. Same team: Tommy Wright, Venison, Beresford. You know, Steve Howie's there, still Kilcline no run because he's injured. Mickey Quinn, David Kelly, Lee Clark, and Kevin Sheedy. As I say, 26,000 at the game. Middlesbrough, not being touted as promotion candidates, but that's irrelevant for this game because it's a cup game. But it's still nice to see how they play. And one or two names that we know, and one or two that we fear. Alan Currigan, Chris Morris, Derek White, Scottish international defender. Now, there's a personal note there where Neil knows Derek White very personally because he's a patient of Neil's, but also he runs a soccer school in Dubai. And when he was in one day, Neil got him to take Joss, his stepson, to the soccer school. And a couple of times when we visited, I went out to see him. And all I can say about Derek White, what a nice guy he is. Typical soft-spoken Scotsman, but with a nice attitude. Robbie Musto in that team, of course, deadly against us, Musto. He always manages to score. Jamie Pollock, Tommy Wright, John Henry, of course, who we know, and Paul Wilkinson. Some dangerous players in that side. Well, dangerous or not, it's a drab nil. It must be driving Keegan's hair out watching it because it is absolutely awful. They could have played another 90 minutes and never scored. 0-0 draw, but at least we're still in with a shout. That's the important thing. Next game's Peterborough away in the league, and Posh giving us a goal. They're not far behind us, and getting a reputation for playing good football. So we go to Posh with same team, Wright, Venison, Beresford, O'Brien, Scott, Howie, Lee. Rob Lee's come in now. Mick Quinn, David Kelly, Lee Clark and Kevin Sheedy. 14,500 at London Road at Peterborough's ground. And Peterborough with one or two names on the side. Chris White at fullback is an ex-Forest player. Mick Hassel, a Bolton player. Steve Walsh, Leicester. Tony Adcock, Nottingham Forest. Ken Charlie, he was a tidy player in his day. And Bobby Barnes from West Ham. So a tidy side, Peterborough, with Chris Turner as their manager. Chris Turner, nice reputation as being a nice character as a manager. Anyway, this irrespective of what they are, if we're serious about promotion, we need to be beating teams like Peterborough. And it's a 0-0. It's quite an attractive 0-0 in the sense it's end to end. And it takes 60 minutes. Kevin Sheedy slots one in, gives us the lead, and that's how it stays to the end. But to the end, it was ding-dong. Peterborough really give it a go. And we end up with a 1-0, which keeps us firmly at the top of the league still. Leicester City in the second game in this Anglo-Italian Interleague clubs competition, they call it. It's a game which is interesting because Leicester are a tidy side and might be competitors in the league. Well, they come to Newcastle with a good reputation, but Newcastle just ignore the reputation and tear them apart. Pavel's back in goal. Mark Stimson gets a shot at left back because John Barris was rested. And Alan Thompson's sneaked into the forward line for this game. So Kevin's shifting the team around a little bit for this. But it didn't matter. We were outstanding, to say the least. And Leicester, one or two stars in that team, Steve Walsh, Gary Mills, Simon Grayson, who made his name as a manager, Bobby Davidson, Scotsman from Derby, Ian Omeroyd and David Lowe, all tidy players. Well, tidy or not, they can't resist Newcastle. And again, the supporters shown what to think about this Mickey Mouse Cup, 14,000, where every game before this has been 30,000. Newcastle just take it off them. Kevin Brock in 10 minutes with a free kick. Mickey Quinn with a penalty just before half time. And then Kevin Sheedy on 59 gets the third. And on 87, Mickey Quinn gets another penalty, and it's 4-0. And we get a 4-0 win in the second round of the Anglo-Italian League Cup. We then are away to Brentford in the league. And again, Brentford aren't at the top, but irrespective that they're a team that we should be beaten. Their manager is Phil Holder, who's an ex Tottenham / West Ham player. The Brentford team's littered with former stars and people that we know. Jerry Payton, West Ham goalkeeper. Brian Statham, West Brom fullback. Chris Hughton, left back, the name we know, from Spurs. Simon Ratcliffe, Mickey Bennett, Kevin Godfrey, Gary Blissett, who's a relative of the other, Luther Blissett, the other one at Watford, and Neil Smiley. A tidy side, but a side that we still should be beating. And Kevin goes back to his tried and tested. Tommy Wright, Barry Venison, John Beresford, etc., all the way down with Kevin Sheedy on the left side. And Rob Lee now a fixture in the side. 10,000 at Griffin Park. A tidy little ground, but didn't hold many. A good game. Both teams giving it a go. But on 10 minutes, David Kelly gives Newcastle a lead, and we go in at 1-0 at half time. And then just after the hour, Gavin Peacock makes it 2-0. And then just to get the nerves jangling in the Gallagher in the Newcastle end, Gary Blissett scores on 78 minutes. And we have 12 minutes of mayhem because Brentford really go for it. And it's hard work for Newcastle, but they hold on. And we come home with a 2-1 win and keeping us firmly at the top of the league, first place. Next game is the League Cup's second leg of the game that we played against Middlesbrough. And we had a tough game against them last time, and this won't be any easier because they take it very seriously. Middlesbrough, it is the same team that played at St James's Park. Ironside, Kerrigan, Morris, Derek White, Phillips, Musto, and all the way. Bernie Slaven sneaks into the forward line, and that is always a danger to us because he seemed to always want to score against us. He's always gives us trouble without in any game we play. But the big danger man at the moment with Middlesbrough, Paul Wilkinson on the left side, who was making lots of waves in the second division at this particular time. So the game goes well for us anyway. 34 minutes, David Kelly scores, and we think we're sailing to an easy victory. Well, Paul Wilkinson puts that out of our mind. So on 56, he equalises with a cracker of a goal. And then Liam O'Brien with a header from a corner at 78 minutes. And then David Kelly again at the death. Another near post header from a corner makes it 3-1. So we get through to the next round with a tidy win at Middlesbrough in the League Cup. Next, we're at home to Tranmere Rovers. Again, a team that's not expected to do anything, but they're above middle and they're playing out of their skins at the moment, and certainly not going to lie down. We have same team: Tommy Wright, Barry Venison, John Beresford, as was, and Robert Lee firmly fixed in the team now, and 31,000 at this game for Tranmere. And I think that's more about supporting the position the team in, the footballer playing, and Keegan, of course. And it's a tidy game. Tranmere aren't going to lie down just because we're Newcastle United. John King's their manager, ex-player. Eric Nixon goal. Steve Mughal, Steve Vickers, Johnny Morrissey from Everton, John Aldridge from ex-Liverpool, Chris Macon from Manchester City, Neil McNabb from City, and Pat Nevin, who was from Chelsea to Everton and Everton to Tranmere. So a tidy side of good professionals. So it's not surprising they're not doing too badly, but it's a tight game. Nobody's given anything away. Then on 37 minutes, David Kelly scores what turns out to be the only goal. Second half was end-to-end stuff, but it never looked like anybody was going to score. And so we get a 1-0 victory, which keeps us sitting nicely at number one in the league. We now have the excitement of a derby match against Sunderland. Well, some would say a proper derby match. Well, I still think Middlesbrough is a proper derby match, but there you are, that's me. Sunderland aren't being touted as top of the league stuff, but they're starting to play some decent football. So we go to Roker Park, 29,000 at the game, and we go as top of the league. So obviously they're going to want to knock off it. Malcolm Crosby is the name I can conjure with, who's manager of them at the time. Tim Carter in goal. John Kate, Andy Rogan, Gary Hours, Gary Bennett, Gary Ernest Bennett, it says here. Kevin Ball, Sean Cunningham, Brian Atkinson, Don Goodman, Donald Ralph Goodman, it says, brackets Don. I love these. Peter Davenport, David Rush. They're a tidy side with some dangerous players in. And they certainly they expect them to give it a go because it's a derby, if nothing else. And they do. And fortunately for us, and unfortunate for them, Gary Hours on 12 minutes attempts a clearance from a corner, and it wrestles in the back of their net. So we go in at half-time 1-0 up. They put a substitute, Gordon Armstrong, on, and ex-Middlesbrough player always causes problems from the left side. And lo and behold, he scores problem this day. On 70 minutes, he equalises, and we get a bit of a sweat on. Then on 76 minutes, Liam O'Brien, with a beautiful free kick. He has a habit of scoring free kicks against Sunderland. Lifts the ball over the wall and into the back of the net, and we go back with a 2-1 victory and keep ourselves firmly placed. That's Gavin Peacock against Sunderland. A nice picture, that one. I've noticed as I get through these bit more modern, Steve, that the companies are less likely to let you use that images, unless you put some money down. So it gets a bit more difficult, but Getty seem to be pretty good. They seem to be not bad. Next game is Grimsby Town at home, and bearing in mind what happened in that horrible cup game, we know it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be easy this day. We think we're going to get a straightforward win, 30,100 in the ground. So clearly the fans think it's a one we're going to win. And Keegan plays his full side again, Wright, Venison, Beresford. He puts Kilcline on the bench as substitute, and he has to come on because Barry Venison gets an injury. And as I say, 31,000 at the game. Grimsby, virtually the same team we played in that weird cup match, except the goalkeeper is a man called David Besant, who was well known in his parts. Otherwise, it's the same team. A hard game, and 0-0 all the way until Jim Dobbin, Grimsby's centre forward, who caused us trouble for a lot of years when we were down in that area. On 89.5 minutes, hardly time to blow the whistle, sneaks in a late goal, and Grimsby go home with the points. We're still first, but hurts the pride when somebody comes to your pitch on your top and they lose, particularly when it's somebody like Grimsby. Then we play Chelsea in the League Cup third round. Chelsea a good side, and we're not going to get away easy game with this one. So we get 31,000 in the ground at Stamford Bridge. Teams: Mal Donaghy, fullback, David Lee, Frank Sinclair, Eddie Newton, well names, Graham Stewart, Graham Lasso, all names that people know. And there's the one, Andy Townsend, who was seen quite a lot on television. And the one called Dennis Wise, who made his name here for all sorts of things. Most of it wasn't football. Robert Fleck and Mick Hartford, another one that we know very well. So they're a tidy side, and we go with virtually, well, it is unchanged team, and Killer Kilcline's back in the side. That's the only difference. We seem as though we're going to give this one a go. And on 58 minutes, unfortunately, Frank Sinclair heads in from a corner. On 77th minute, though, Robert Lee scores one of his screamers to give an equaliser. And then, lo and behold, one of the ex-Magpies in the Chelsea team, Mick Harford, on 82 minutes, makes it 2-1. So Chelsea get a 2-1 victory in that League Cup game. And we then come back to an away game at Leicester. Now, Leicester, we trounced at St James's Park, and everybody thinks, well, should at least get point here. Well, think again, boys, because Leicester were up for it this time. 19,600 at the game. David Lowe scores on 3 minutes for them. Bobby Davidson, 15 minutes, and they're 2-0 in the lead. And that's how it stays till half-time. Just sort of on the hour, Liam O'Brien nods in a corner and gives a hope. And we really have a go at it. Ding-dong to the end of the match. Keegan played his full side, Tommy Wright, etc. And Liam O'Brien still in the side because of injury. But we cannot get the equaliser, and bearing in mind how easily we beat Leicester at home, it was a bit of a disappointment to the fans, because they thought they would at least get a point out of it. So we're still first, but with that defeat, we're hanging on by goal difference rather than by our own abilities, should we say. Now we've got Birmingham City away in the league. Now Birmingham are another one of the teams that's been touted to be up and thereabouts. So if we're going to be serious about this, Birmingham's got to be in our sights. And Keegan sends full team, Wright, Benison, Beresford's fit again, Liam O'Brien, Kevin Scott, Steve Howie, etc. And 15,000 at this game at St Andrews. Terry Cooper's their manager, ex-Leeds in England fullback. Les Seeley in goal, who has family in this part of the world. Martin Hicks, centre-back. Trevor Matthewson from Sheffield United. Ian Rogerson from Sheffield United. Paul Tate, David Speedy, who's a name we know. Simon Sturridge, and Graham Potter, which is the name we know from management at the moment. They're a tidy side, and we expect a tough game, and it is a tough game. Pressure's eased by Gavin Peacock on 7 minutes scoring. David Speedy equalises them for 9. Kevin Scott scores a header from a corner on 31. And Graham Potter, who just talked about, on 33, equalises. So it's going at 2-2 at half-time. Or at least that's what it looks like. And lo and behold, just before the half-time whistle, Gary Matthewson, Trevor Matthewson, their defender, makes a back pass that isn't a back pass at all. It ends up in the back of their own net. So with an own goal, we go in 3-2 at half-time. Second half's ding-dong, end-to-end, but we hang on to the 3-2 and come home with a nice victory away from home that keeps us firmly fixed at the top of the league. Our next game is Swindon at St James's Park. And Swindon, a tidy football side, but not anywhere near us in terms of possibilities, but still playing good football. Keegan plays Cernacek's back in goal. Venison, Beresford, same team. Peacock, Kelly, Clark, Sheedy, all the same. 29,000 at this game. And Swindon come with Glenn Hoddle, still their manager. One or two old stagers. Kevin Horlock, Hoddle himself, of course, plays as player manager. Colin Calderwood, who was our coach for a while from Tottenham. Mickey Hazard from Chelsea. Nicky Summerby from Manchester City. So nice, tidy footballers in the Swindon side. It's a good game, but if they played another 90 minutes, neither of these teams are going to score a goal. Hit the woodwork plenty, but it was 0-0, and it would have stayed that if they'd been played now. But good football. Just nobody seemed inclined to hit the onion bag, and we get a 0-0 draw. But that's enough to keep with the top of the division. And now we have another of these Italian interleague clubs competition with Lucchese from Italy. Or we go to Lucchese in Italy. Lucchese is northern Italy, I think, and not a big side, not a big place in terms of Italian football, even. But a tidy game, one which, again, Keegan takes seriously. He, Cernacek, Venison, Beresford, Bracewell, Kilcline, Steve Howie, Gavin Peacock, Lee Clark, Sheedy, Kevin Brock, Mickey Quinn. I mean, he's fielding his full side, and he's every indication that whichever competition we go in, he's going to have a go, which I think the fans do like, actually. And the stadium is Stadio Comunale Porta Elsa in Lucchese, well, it's an interesting game. It's good football, end-to-end stuff, and on 29 minutes, Barry Venison, of all people, sticks a boot out from a corner and gives the opposition a lead with an own goal. And it's like that till the hour. And then Benny Christensen, who's come on as a substitute, equalises with one of his rare goals, and it ends up 1-1. So we get a 1-1 draw in Italy, and keeps us interested in that Anglo-Italian Cup. We then go to Charlton Athletic in the league. Charlton a tidy side, but a lot shouldn't be bothering us. This is the best way to describe it, and they don't actually. We'll go to Charlton. Their manager is double-barreled one, joint managers Steve Gritt and Alan Kirkbridgeley. One or two characters in the team: Bob Bowler, the goalkeeper, Leroy Primus, Carl Ledburn, Gary Nelson, Colin Walsh, just forward from Leicester. 12,500 at the game. Keegan sends unchanged team: Cernacek, Venison, Beresford, etc., all the way down. And clearly, Charlton are somebody we should beat. Home or away, we should be beating them. 3 minutes, Gavin Peacock makes it possible. 35 minutes, he makes it even more possible. 49, Gary Nelson for them gets a one back, and looks like Charlton are going to have a go. But then with a corner on 63, Steve Howie makes it 3-1, and that's how it runs out, and we come back with a nice away victory to keep us saddled at the top of the league. We're home to Watford next at St James's. And again, a team that's been touted as possible by the Southern press. Well, it doesn't matter. We should still be beating them. So they come, and we've got the same team: Cernacek, Venison, Beresford, O'Brien, Scott, Howie, etc. 29,000 in the ground. And Watford are playing tidy football. Team of well-known Southerners, really: David Holsworth, Barry Ashby, Andy Hessenthaler, a German who made a name for himself at Watford, Paul Furlong, Kevin Charlery, and Gerard Lavin. All tidy, but not tidy enough for Newcastle on this day, with 0-0 at half-time. And then on 50 minutes, Gavin Peacock gives us the lead. 57, Rob Lee slots home a blinder from outside the penalty area. And we end up with a nice home 2-0 win, which keeps us firmly fixed at the top of Division 2, where we want to be. We now have another of the Anglo-Italian League competition matches. And these are teams that wouldn't normally be in cups. I think that's why they were chosen, really. Ascoli is the next team, and they come to St James's with quite a good reputation for being a good football side. Keegan virtually plays his full first team, taking it seriously, and then they come with a team of nondescript. There's not an international player in their side, and but they were a tidy football side. And on 63 minutes, Berchoff, who's the German playing for them, gives them a 1-0 lead, and that's how it stays to the end. They actually come to St James's and beat us with again 9,700 in the ground. When for the league games we're getting over 30,000. It just shows how the supporters react to these Mickey Mouse Cup. 1-0 loss to Ascoli, but a nice game, tidy side, good football side. So we go to we have Cambridge United at home next, and Cambridge are mid-table but playing tidy football. But we should be beating them. Shouldn't be a problem to us. And same team from Keegan, Cernacek, Venison, Beresford, O'Brien, Scott, Kilcline's slipped in because of an injury. Rob Lee, Gavin Peacock, David Kelly, Lee Clark, and Alan Thompson's brought in. 29,000 at the game, and Cambridge have a tidy side managed by Gary Johnson, ex-player of theirs. Alan Kimball at fullbacks, been around. Danny O'Shea, another one that's been up and down the divisions. Gary Rowett, who we know from not far away. And Steve Claridge, the ex-Portsmouth player, who played in another game previously. And he played into his 40s. Gary Ledbetter, another dangerous player. So the tidy side, but not tidy enough to trouble Newcastle. On 26 minutes, David Kelly scores. 55, he gets a second. 86, he gets a third, which is his hat trick. And Steve Claridge, who's always a troubled old character, scores for them on 88. And then right the last kick of the game, Gavin Peacock makes it 4-1 at the 90th minute. And we sit nicely and fixed at the top of the league now with so we're now to Notts County. Tidy side, playing decent football, and but they're not near us. We still should be beating them. So we go, and Keegan sends same team: Cernacek, Venison, Beresford, O'Brien, Scott. He's brought Scott in because Killer Kilcline's got another injury. 14,000 at the game. Notts County, Steve Cherry, a well-known goalkeeper. Charlie Palmer from the other Nottingham side. The Chris Short, Mark Draper, a dangerous player. Kevin Bartlett and Dave Smith, all tidy players, but shouldn't bother us, and they don't. 47 minutes, Kevin Sheedy gives her the lead. On 86, Gavin Peacock settles it, and we win 2-0 at the Manor ground, at the county ground rather, and a nice away win to cement what we're doing at home, and fixing us firmly at the top of the league, which is the big key. And next we have another Anglo-Italian League competition thing with Bari coming. with us going to Bari in Italy, and Stadio San Nicola with a fantastic crowd for this match. 2,000, would you believe? Makes you wonder why they bothered playing it, but never mind. The Bari side has one or two ex Italian internationals in it. Toglieri is a dangerous left-sided player. Cappuccino is centre forward, and Gucci, two dangerous forwards. Played for a lot for Italy, but obviously on the wrong side of 30 now. But a tidy side, and it's side that you could expect trouble from. Keegan takes it seriously and makes a couple of changes. Puts Matty Appleby and Mark Stimson in at fullback. Brings Killer Kilcline back in. Up front, he plays Richie Appleby and Alan Thompson, and hopes that'll get a result. Well, it doesn't, because Bari give away no quarter at all. 5 minutes, the Italian centre forward scores. 27 minutes, he makes it 2, and on 88 minutes, he makes it 3. And we come home from Bari with tails between my legs with a 3-0 defeat. However, that's not going to bother the Gallagher faithful. What's bothering the Gallagher faithful is where we are in this league of ours. And the next game is away to Barnsley. Barnsley's tidy side, but they shouldn't trouble us. But on this particular day, they do. Same side basically brings back all the first team. Cernacek, Venison, Beresford, etc. 12,000 at the game. Barnsley with one or two steady players. Charlie Bishop, Brendan O'Connell, Wayne Biggins, John Pearson, Neil Redfern, who was coach with us here up to a couple of years ago. And going to give away a hard game, there's no doubt about it, but so one we should win. Well, unfortunately, it's not going to happen. 0-0 at half time, and it looks a very poor 0-0. Then on 49 minutes, just after half time, O'Connell for Barnsley makes it 1-0. And despite us having a goal, really setting things off, it stays 4-0 right to the end, and they get the victory. Disappointing for us, because it means that people behind are catching up, even though we're still first place, and that's not what we want at all. Next game is another Italian league competition. Cessna, Company Newcastle, a team which has got one or two old Italian internationals in it. Leone, Medri, Teodomani, Masolini. They're all Italian internationals and good footballers. Again, the crowd tells you what it thinks about this competition. 4,000, where we've been getting 30,000 for league games. But Keegan takes it seriously. He plays virtually his full team. He puts Natalie Appleby in to give one of the fullbacks a rest, but otherwise he's got virtually a full side out. The Italians go ahead in 2 minutes. We equalise in 38 and then go ahead in 64. Both goals by Gavin Peacock. And then Prazzaglia scores 74 minutes to give them a 2-2 draw. Now I was at this game, and my memory is when they got that draw, it was like they'd won the whole competition because they'd got a draw at St James's Park. So it obviously was important to them. But not a spectacular game, but a one we didn't win. And as I say, the important results are the ones in the league for us. We now go to Cav at St James's Park, Millwall, and a team which always going to give you a hard time, a hard game, and the one that's in the middle of the league, but still going to give us a tough time. Keegan feels full side: Chernachek, Venison, Barrisford, O'Brien, Scott, Howie, Lee, Bracewell, Kelly, Clark, and Sheedy. 27,000 in the ground for the visit of Millwall. Millwall come with people that we know on their side, like Ian Bogey, John Goodman, Malcolm Allen, who was briefly through our squad, and one or two others. It's a side that it gives us a go. And the manager, of course, we know because he's Mick McCarthy, which is tells us everything. A hard game, end-to-end stuff, and nobody giving any quarter. And nerves jangling in the Gallagher corner, I remember, because Jamie Morley for Millwall makes it 1-0 on 20 minutes. And second half, we really give it a go. End-to-end stuff, but we can do everything but put the ball in the net. And right on 75 minutes, David Kelly manages to do that. But from a penalty, at a corner, the Millwall defenders get upset about Kevin Scott being there and dump him on his backside and give us a penalty, which David Kelly scores. So 1-1 draw. However, it's enough to keep it first, which is what important to us. Next games, Wolves at home. Now, Wolves are a team that's been touted as possible champions, and so a team that we need to beat. Same team from Keegan, Chernachek, Venison, etc., Barrister, etc. 31,000 in the ground. Wolverhampton Wanderers, one or two well-known names. Steve Bullard, centre forward, of course. Keith Downing, Mark Venus, with Laurie Madden, all with Northern connections. And Graham Turner, the manager, a man who has a good reputation as a coach and manager in football. So we want to win this one. But nerves jangling again. 33 minutes. Paul Cook, their attacking midfielder, scores on 33 minutes to give them a lead. Just before half-time, David Kelly, 43 minutes, makes it 1-1. And then on 66 minutes, the same David Kelly makes it 2-1 and gives us a nice victory over Wolves, which keeps us nicely at the top of Division 2. Next game is an away game to Oxford. Oxford mid-table, but we shouldn't be worrying about that. We should be able to beat them, while not always the case when you're a Newcastle fan, that what you wish for, you get. Keegan sends full team, Chernachek, Venison, Beresford, etc. Oxford managed by Brian Horton, ex-player of theirs, and got Andy Melville at centre-back, well-known player, and Joe Beecham, a dangerous right-sided player, Nicky Cusack, dangerous centre-forward. But nevertheless, we should be beating these. John Durain, 4 minutes, scores for them. Nicky Cusack, 8 minutes, scores for them. So we're 2-0 down. And in the middle, 9 minutes, Liam O'Brien gets a goal. And then on 38 minutes, Lee Clark scores and equalises. But then on 39, straight away, Jim Magilton scores for Oxford and they go in 3-2 at half-time. We come and have a go at them in the second half, but make no matter. Oxford are quite steely, quite stern in what they're doing, and they end up with another goal to take the game 4-2, which is upsetting to us, but doesn't knock off the top, which is the key for us. Port Vale in the FA Cup third round next. And even though it's Port Vale, 30,000 in St James's for the FA Cup. And Keegan, same team, Cernachek, Venison, Beresford, etc. Port Vale, managed by John Rudge, an ex-player of theirs, and one or two players who great names in that part of the world. And in Stoke, generally Neil Aspin, Nicky Cross, Ian Taylor, good players. The cup game, as I say, 30,000 in the ground, and we start off very slowly. It looks like it's not going to be our day, hitting the woodwork and so on, 0-0 at half time. But after half time, Gavin Peacock changes that with 49 minutes he scores. Then 62 minutes he scores. Rob Lee puts a screamer on 66. And then Kevin Sheedy on 80 makes it 4-0. And we get a tidy FA Cup win over Port Vale. Next, we off to Bristol City. And we beat them here and we want to beat them there. It's 15,000 in the ground. Bristol City, it's managed by Dennis Smith, who we know from this part of the world. He managed a team here. Good side, good football side. Osman, Wayne Allison, good players. And a forward slotted into their left side of their attack called Andy Cole, which we might know something about. Ashton Gate has 15,000 in. Keegan sends strong side. And it's a good game, good football game. 19 minutes though, Wayne Allison scores for them. And 22 minutes, David Kelly equalises. And then Kevin Scott, a header from a corner on 34 minutes, gives a 2-1 victory, which sits with nice and firmly at the top of the division, which is where we want to be. We then go to Southend, who we've already beaten in the opening game, but it was a tough game, and so we go to Southend, and we've got a home game against Peterborough before Southend. That's why the papers are upside down. Peterborough gave a tough game there, and see no different here. They again 30,000 in the ground, so the supporters are behind the team and behind Keegan. And 30 minutes Rob Lee, 70 minutes Rob Lee, 88 minutes David Kelly. And our team is the one you'd expect. Cernachek, Venison, Beresford, O'Brien, Scott, Howie, Lee, Peacock, Kelly, Clark and Sheedy. As I say, a nice 3-0 win to keep us planted firmly at the top of the league. We then go away to Southend, and Keegan sends the full team, as you'd expect, Cernachek, Venison, etc. 8,000 in the ground at Southend, which for them is a tidy crowd, I gather. And they give us a good game like they did in the first game. It's never going to be easy. 29 minutes, Gavin Peacock puts with the lead, and everybody thinks, well, that's it. Andy Sussex, 39 minutes for them, equalises. Second half's tidy, end-to-end stuff, but nobody looked like they were going to get a winner. So we come home with a 1-1, which is not ideal, but at least it keeps us at the top of the division, and that's what's important. FA Cup fourth round, Rotherham United. We go to Rotherham to Millmoor with the full side, Cernachek, Venison, etc. Rotherham, a tidy side with one or two ex-stars in, Nicky Lawn, Nigel Johnson, Sean Goodwin. Tony Cunningham is a name that we know. Sean Gota from Manchester City, a name we know. A good game. end-to-end stuff with 28 minutes Rob Lee scoring for us, and 63 minutes Nigel Johnston getting the equaliser, and we come home with a 1-1 draw in the FA Cup fourth round. That means a replay, but I'm sure we can cope with that. We then have Luton Town away, and Luton give a tough game at St James's, and they're going to give a tough game here as well. The Kellingworth Road, 10,000 in it, which is big crack for them. Same team as played at St James's. They and their manager still David Pleat, who's ex-Tottenham man, and Keegan sends his full side. End-to-end stuff, but could have played all day and played again. Nobody was going to score. It ended up a 0-0 draw, which is enough to keep us at the top of the league. But we should have been beaten. Luton. That's a team we should beat. Derby County at home next. 30,000 in the ground again. The crowd sticking with where, there's no doubt about that. The Derby side managed by Arthur Cox and various stars in it, with Marco Gambardini being the outstanding one, and Paul Kitson, because he's one of ours. And Keegan plays his usual team, Cernacek, Venison, etc. And as I say, with 30,000 in the ground, it's a Derby are pushing us at the top of the league as well, so it's always going to be difficult. But sadly, Tommy Johnson, a Geordie lad, scores on 2 minutes, and I remember being in the Gallagher corner for this match, and the nerves were jangling. People were, because it would give Derby a leg up towards chasing us and getting very close. However, right at the death, 90 minutes on the clock, Liam O'Brien, a header from a corner, and we come away with a 1-1 draw, which...
and George, a little side note for you here. The guy on the right-hand side on the programme is Pete Graves.
Really?
Yes, there you are.
That's fantastic. Fantastic.
Pete Graves from Sky at a match in the programme.
Well, that's really good. I wonder if I bet he's got that picture.
Oh, he has. He's seen it a few times, and he's tweeted it.
Yeah. So anyway, we will now go back to Rotherham for our replay in the Cup. Sorry, Rotherham come to us for the replay in the Cup. And not an easy game, but it was 0-0 at half-time. Rotherham not going to give anything away, but David Kelly, 50 minutes, scores. And right at the death, 89 minutes, Lee Clark scores from a free kick. And 30,000 crowd, which is a good crowd for a Wednesday night at St James's in those days, go home happy with a 2-0 replay win. And so we advance to the next round of the FA Cup. We then have Portsmouth in the league, but we go at Portsmouth. Not an easy place to go, but a one way you're going to get a good football side. And sure enough, we do. Save all our good games for us. 21,000 in the crowd, and Keegan sends an unchanged team with Portsmouth playing what effectively is, could say a team of has-beens, but they're a good team of has-beens. You know, Ray Daniel, Kit Simmons, Chris Burns, Chris Price, Mark Chamberlain, Paul Walsh, Guy Whittingham, and Warren Aspinall. And they give us as good as we got, and we end up Guy Whittingham on 13 minutes and Kit Simons on 40, 2-0 at half time, and that's how it stays right to the end, despite us really having to go at them. But we end up with a 2-0 loss, but doesn't knock us off the top. That's the important thing. And we now got Blackburn Rovers in the 5th round of the FA Cup at Blackburn. Keegan obviously sends a full side, 19,000 in the game, and Blackburn with some names in the conjure with Bobby Mims in goal, David May, Alan Wright, Tim Sherwood of TV fame now, Colin Hendry, the big blonde centre half, Gordon Sidney Cowans, ex-Aston Villa player, Roy Weggery, dangerous player in his day, Mike Newell, dangerous centre forward for all sorts of people, Everton and Notts Forest particularly. So it's going to be a good game, and we go with do quite well. It's 0-0. Second half we're given as good as we got, but unfortunately, have I mentioned Roy Weggery? Well, I shouldn't have done, because just on 89 and a bit minutes, he makes it 1-0 to Blackburn and puts us out of the FA Cup. Lots of crocodile tears on Tyneside, because yes, they love a run in the cup. What they want more than that is to win this league, and we're still sitting first. West Ham United away. It's not going to be an easy game. Usual team from Keegan, 19,000 at Upton Park, and same team, Cernachek, Venison, etc. And Keegan's happy with that. And West Ham, littered with their usual star names, Steve Potts, Ken Brown, Julian Dix, Tony Gale, Martin Allen, Ian Bishop, Peter Butler, Kevin Keane, Trevor Morley, a dangerous winger. As I say, nearly 20,000 in the ground. A game where we're given as good as we got, but again, another game where they could have played another match and still wouldn't have scored. 0-0, but the important statistic is we're still top of the league, and that's what we want. We go to Bristol Rovers now. Bristol Rovers come to us for the next game, and we need to get something out of this. Well, we do, but not what we wanted. 30,000 in the ground again. 0-0, absolutely awful 0-0 as well. There wasn't even any decent football in it to say that it was worth watching it. Really, I do remember this being a dreadful game, and you could see Keegan tearing his hair out on the sidelines. Well, 0-0 at the end. It didn't do any damage, but it didn't do that much good either. So we're still top of the league. That's the key. And we're now at Tranmere. Now Tranmere are a hard side to beat, and they're in the middle of the league and giving other teams a hard time. So we want to do something here, and we do. Rob Lee, 26 minutes and 87 minutes, and David Kelly on 42. And we get a 3-0 victory. 13,000 in Prenton Park, and Tranmere littered with Merseyside ex-players, Johnny Morrissey, Neil McNabb, Chris Macon, Pat Nevin. They're all there in that side. But 3-0, that's the important one for us. Keeps us nicely at the top of the league. We then have Brentford at home. Now, Brentford gave us a tough game on their pitch. Virtually, our team stays unchanged. 31,000 in the game. Brentford with a team same as the one that we played there, except they've got a new centre forward called Joe Allen in the team, which is somebody we might know something about, and Paul Stevenson on the left side of their attack as well. So a bit of interest, local interest in this. Keegan's team just sets off and takes Brentford to the cleaners. 1 goal before half-time from David Kelly on 24. After half-time, Paul Bracewell, 49 minutes. Lee Clark, 55. Then Scott, own goal for them for 58. 83, Lee Clark. 87, Rob Lee. A 5-1 victory, which is nicely needed to keep where we want to be top of the league. We now have Charlton at home. We should beat them, but Charlton play good football. Well, should beat them and do beat them is two different things. And Charlton put the wind up with, because on 9 minutes Gary Nelson scores, and Carl Leyburn scores on 38 minutes. Rob Lee and David Kelly score, but Rob Lee just before half-time makes it 2-1, and then David Kelly on just after half-time, 45 minutes, makes it 2-2. So we get a 2-2 draw out of a game that we really should have been winning. But it was a tidy game of football. I remember that was, but it doesn't alter our league position. We're nicely sat top of the league, and we're off to Swindon now to their pitch. Give them a good game here. 18,000 at the game. Glenn Hoddle's still a manager and player manager, and Keegan sends the usual side: Cernicek, Venison, Beresford, etc. And sadly, it's not what we want. David Kelly scores on 43 minutes, and we think that's it, we're on our way. But then a penalty on 51 by Colin Calderwood, and a second on 55 by the same Colin Calderwood gives Swindon a 2-1 win. It doesn't knock off the top, but it still gives people the jitters, because it allows other people to catch up. We're now at home to Notts County. Notts County being difficult to beat. Well, on this visit, they're not. 31,000 in the ground. Keegan's team is what you'd expect. And Rob Lee, David Kelly too, and Andy Cole is introduced into the side on 70 minutes, and it's a comfortable 4-0 win against Notts County. Was a good game as well, good game of football, but we never looked in any danger. So that nice 4-1 win settles us nicely at the top of the league, and we have a game with Watford at Watford next. It's would like to win this one, but Watford are a difficult side, and they proved that to be. 0-0 at half time, but a very dour 0-0. 11,000 at Vicarage Road. And on 58 minutes, Paul Furlong, a dangerous winger they got from Chelsea, makes it 1-0. And we never looked like getting back into that game. And we lost it 1-0. But we're still top of the league. That's the important thing. So Watford's done us no great damage, but what we didn't want. Birmingham City next at home for us. 30,000 in the ground, and interesting that we've established a 30,000 gate nearly every game this season. But Birmingham, Andy Saville and Ian Rogerson, 32 and 38 minutes, and they go 2-0 at half time. And then everybody, Gallagher Corners, wondering what the devil's happening. But we needn't worry, because Andy Cole on 66 and Rob Lee on 67. And we come away with a 2-2 draw. We would have liked the win, but it doesn't damage where we are in the league. That's the important thing. Cambridge United next at Cambridge. Now, these are the ones, the vital ones we should be winning. And we go with 8,000 in the ground. And same team, Cernicek, Venison, Beresford. Paul Bracewell slipped in, Kevin Scott, Howie, Lee, Cole, Andy Cole, David Kelly, Lee Clark. And Scott Sellers has slipped in, haven't just signed. The Cambridge team is a decent team, but not decent enough for us. Steve Howie heads in a corner on 41 minutes. Just after half-time, David Kelly scores a nice goal on 46 minutes. And then Andy Cole scores a screamer from the edge of the penalty on 53 minutes. And we beat Cambridge 3-0, which delights everybody because it's a weekend when all the other challengers don't do very well. and makes our first look even more certain. And then, so at home to Barnsley next, and again a team we should be beaten. Well, beat them we do, despite the fact we struggled at their place. They come to the 30,000 crowd again, and our lads just annihilate them. And the star of the game is a young man called Andy Cole. He scores a hat-trick on 16, 44 and 46 minutes. Lee Clark scores on 65. John Beresford on a penalty on 67. And Scott Sellers on 72. 6-0 win, which has everybody cheering, because there's no way now that they would have to be really careless to lose this league, because we're still fixed at the top. So we now go to Wolves, and be nice if we could peg them back. But sadly, it's not going to happen. A good game, we play well, but Andy Much for Wolves on 54 minutes gives them a 1-0 lead. Never looks like we're going to score, and that's how it stays to the end. But that 1-0 is enough to leave things in the league as they are, which is what important to us. So we now have to go to Millwall, which is not the best of places to go to, but nevertheless, Keegan's got them up for it, because on 18 minutes, Barber scores for Millwall, gives them a 1-0 lead. Now our team's unchanged, by the way. And Lee Clark on 65 from a free kick equalises. And then Andy Cole again on 75. It makes it 2-1, and that's how it stays. And we see that one out, and gives a nice firm feeling to the first place that we've got. Next game's at home, and it's the home leg of the derbies against Sunderland, and we certainly don't want to lose this one, or even draw it if we can help it. They come with the usual side: Tony Norman, John Kay, Michael Gray, who was well known, Kevin Ball, etc. 31,000 in the ground, and it's an end-to-end stuff for in terms of football. Scott Sellers on 10 minutes opens the scoring, and everybody thinks, well, that'll open the floodgates. Well, it didn't. Hit the woodwork, and so did they. So we end up with a 1-0 victory, which is great in the sense that it bolsters the top of the league position for us, and we sit there quite nicely. Grimsby Town now away. Grimsby being a stumbling block for us all season in cup matches and in the other league game, but not this time. And the difference is a young man called Andy Cole. He gives Grimsby a hard time in this game at Grimsby. And despite the fact that they hang on, 46 minutes just after half time, Andy scores. Now 90 minutes right at the death, David Kelly makes it 2-0. And again, cements us nicely at the top of the division. So we're now running down to the run-in, as they say. Oxford United at home. We should be beating Oxford United, and we do. Again, who's the star? Andy Cole. 2 goals, 70 and 78 minutes. And Cusack, 79 minutes, gets them a consolation. 30,000 in the ground again. And it's a victory that seals promotion, at least, but also seals first place. But the next game is the last game. And this, if you talk about sealing your season, well, this is the way to seal it. Leicester City come. They're just below the promotion spots, so they're playing well. 31,000 in the ground. And, well, we just tear them apart. Andy Cole again and David Kelly. Not many games I've been to with 2 hat-tricks. 5, 40 and 66 for Andy Cole. 28, 34 and 45 for David Kelly. And in between, Robert Lee on 13 minutes scores the 7th, with Steve Walsh getting the consolation for them right at the end. 7-1 against Leicester. And of course, they can cheer their firm fixture as champions of the second division. A good season, hard season. And that's some of the photographs that afterwards went with the trophies and so on. That weird one is the Anglo-Italian thing that I've been disparaging about. We actually won it, even though we only won 2 matches. Anyway, David Kelly, nice picture, David Kelly. So there we are, Steve. An interesting season, but a one which, because we got out of that division, it was important, very important.
100%, George. As always, a pleasure to go on that journey with you, and a successful season at that. What will the Premier League hold? We will find out on the next episode. George, take care,
Certainly
mate.
will. Thank you. Lovely to see everybody. Thank you.
A big thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find out more about them from their website, mrvickies.co.uk, or by calling 01768 210 102. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. And thanks to United Group Travel, UK coach holiday firm based in Morpeth. There's no strangers on their tours, just people you haven't met yet. They're now taking bookings for 2024. You can call 01670 632 460, 0791 666 4174, or 07957 141 654. Or go to the website unitedgrouptravel.com. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button underneath the video today. We still do 7 shows a week. Hit the thumb up under the video to like it. It does us a big favour. Click share to share to your other social media and let people know about NUFC matters. We're also a podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you want to help the show financially, you can take out a £25 one-off membership. You get a scarf, a pen, a cup, and a membership card. How do you get it? Go to nufcmatters.com, look for membership. If you've got a smartphone, then put your smartphone over the QR code and it will take you straight to that section on the website. We also support the food bank on this channel. You can donate to the food bank today by going to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. We do support events on this channel as well. If you've got an event, please send it in and we'll promote it. The Tyne Theatre and Opera House are doing a Keegan, Beardsley and Waddle event, the Class of 84, 25th of January 2024. Book now by calling 0844 249 1000. And the Tyneside Irish Centre, they're doing an event with Frank Clark and John Gibson on Thursday, December the 7th. You can get tickets from nufcmatters.com and they are priced at £15. There's also some tickets available on Groupon. Don't forget, you can catch me 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, with Rye, Dave and Daz on the Northeast Footy Brekkie Show, 7 till 9. And you can catch us on the Red, the Toon and the Cat and on Toon Radio's website. WhatsApp us on the day 0330 043 2002, the perfect way to start your day.